When you've got nowhere to go but up, like your New England Patriots in 2024, who's the most likely candidate to break out? Stick around. You're about to be locked in to the Locked On Patriots podcast.
You are Locked On Patriots, your daily New England Patriots podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello to all of you Foxborough faithful, and thank you once again for making Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage, and also, hopefully, your first listen each and every day. Remember, Locked On Patriots is not only a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, but we are also free and available on all platforms, including YouTube. So smash that subscribe button and download and follow Locked On Patriots wherever you get your podcasts to ensure that you're getting the latest episode as soon as it's available. I'm your host, Mike Debate. I cover your New England Patriots for the Patriots country, so make sure to reach out to me and let me know what's on your mind, because I want to know what you're thinking on X at MDABATENFL. And while you're out there showing some love to Locked On Patriots, social media style, please be sure to follow our account there as well at LO_Patriots. And Pats fans, today we're talking breakout candidates for your New England Patriots, wrapping up week one of OTAs, and the New England Patriots are marching toward the start of mandatory minicamp on June 10th. Well, here today is my esteemed new colleague at Athlon Sports Patriots Country. You know him as the producer of the opening kickoff from 6 to 9 a.m. Central Time every morning on 105.5 WNSP. He is a senior sports analyst and a contributing writer to platforms such as Sports Illustrated and, of course, now Patriots Country. He is my good friend, Michael Brauner. Michael, thank you so much for joining me here today, and welcome to Locked On Patriots.
Appreciate you having me on, Mike. I'm excited about this.
And we're excited to have you. Folks, Mike has been doing tremendous work over at Patriots Country for Athlon Sports. If you haven't had the opportunity to check it out yet, I highly encourage you to do so. Some great pieces, great work, and it's always an honor to share the microphone with knowledgeable Patriots fans and knowledgeable Patriots media. And today, folks, is a treat because we've got it both. And let's dive right into the subject of the day, Mike, because obviously week one of OTAs is wrapped up in Foxborough. The Patriots continuing OTAs. Mandatory minicamp is still a few away, but when New England Patriots fans start to get excited, they start to think about which players they're excited to see on the field. And obviously, everyone's excited to see Drake May take his snaps. We all want to see Joe Milton launch those moon bombs that he's been launching in New England right now. Jacoby Brissett, someone I think people are excited to watch. Ramondre Stevenson, Demario Douglas, Jalen Polk, Javon Baker. You can keep naming these players that Patriots fans are excited to see. And it gets them to thinking about 2023. That's not exactly a warm and fuzzy memory for a lot of Patriots fans. A 4-13 season never is, but several Patriots made their mark on this team last year, Mike, including Christian Barmore, Jelani Tavai, Demario Douglas. These are guys that weren't necessarily household names across the NFL landscape, but these players actually did a very good job of making themselves into invaluable pieces on this team. When you look at the 2024 roster, whether it be a rookie, a veteran, a new addition, or a fan favorite, who is at the top of your list of potential breakout candidates for the Patriots this season?
Yeah, so obviously 2023 was what it was, and you bring up the Demario Douglas's work. Like, I struggled a little bit with all right, what are we talking about breakout player? Because Demario Douglas, I think, obviously, every Patriots fan knows who Demario Douglas is. Does Demario Douglas have a 1,000-yard season this year and enter, into that household name across the NFL conversation? Maybe. I mean, I think he's the best weapon on the team, but I wouldn't really consider him a breakout player since, like you said, I think every Patriot fan's already excited to see him. The first guy that came to mind for me is a new addition, not a rookie, a really under-the-radar signing. I want to say he was the first free agent signing that the Patriots made. And, the casual fan might get to week one and say, like, oh, they brought in this guy. I actually put down Antonio Gibson. I think he has a chance to be a really, really, really good weapon in this offense. Now, is it going to be 5 years ago where he, is randomly having 40-point games in fantasy football? Probably not. But I really like Gibson's value because if you're going to let Ezekiel Elliott go, which you obviously did, from Ramondre Stevenson 2 years ago, as great as he was, and he was the number 7 overall running back in fantasy, or number 7 overall player, rather. As great as he was, he kind of was the entire offense. And believe me, the offense has room to allow people to be the entire offense, if that makes any sense. But you don't want Ramondre Stevenson having to take the entire workload of being a pass catcher, being a 3-down back, doing everything like he was in 2022. And it kind of started to wear down. You saw it a little bit in 2023, and Ezekiel Elliott, he just didn't look like the same player. And Ezekiel Elliott, frankly, was the more productive back, which I don't think anyone expected. But Gibson, I think, comes in, takes that pass catching load off of Ramondre Stevenson and gives the offense a little bit, almost turn the clock back to the James White role. They really haven't had that guy since 2020 in White's last season. So I really like the potential of Antonio Gibson in this offense.
Absolutely agree with you. I think Gibson can be a very good contributor and a big contributor to this offense. We're already seeing the switch, like you said, in Alex Van Pelt's philosophy from what we saw under Bill O'Brien, and of course what we saw a couple of years ago under Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, is that switch to the outside zone runs that the New England Patriots want to incorporate as part of the facilitation of the play action passing game, taking the deep shots down the field, but also using the intermediate areas of the field. If they're going to use the passing game in that intermediate area, a pass catching back is a very good weapon to have. And Antonio Gibson is very good. He did a great job with that with the Washington Commanders. There is a synergy and a relationship there with Jacoby Brissett. So if Jacoby is going to get the ball to start the season, like many people project he will, this is a very good player that you want to build around and you want to use as a potential key cog in your offense. Ramondre Stevenson is going to be the feature back. I don't think anyone's questioning that. I don't think Antonio's coming in here thinking he's going to supplant Ramondre as the everyday back, assuming everyone's healthy. I always give that caveat because, as you know, Mike, health is the great equalizer across the league. But if Ramondre is healthy and ready to go, he's absolutely the lead back. But Antonio is someone that does have the ability, the shiftiness to cause some mismatches as a runner. I don't want to make it seem like he's only going to be a pass catcher out of the backfield. This guy can run and he can give you contributions on the early downs, but he's potentially going to be, I think, a very good third down weapon for this offense. So I look at Antonio Gibson and say, yeah, he could be a breakout candidate for the Patriots, not just for the team itself, but even throughout the league, maybe become more of a household name than he has been in years past.
It's funny you brought up the Jacoby Brissett connection. I didn't even think of that, but that's such a good point. Obviously, two guys who are familiar with each other is something you always want. Another guy I put down, and it's funny because I could see him not making the team. There's so many questions at this position group, not many of them good, but I put down KJ Osborne, who's kind of just been the definition of solid in Minnesota. Nothing, spectacular, right around 50 catches, 500 yards as a complimentary piece. And, having the Justin Jeffersons of the world certainly helps that. Obviously, the Patriots don't have that. So if you ask KJ Osborne to step into a bigger role, it might be difficult for him to produce at the same level. But it's so funny what's going on with this wide receiver group. Like, I'm sure Patriots fans would like to see Tyquan Thornton break out. I know I would. I thought he was going to be great, and obviously it just hasn't materialized. Tyquan Thornton, at this point, though, there's no great wide receiver on the roster yet. We'll see what happens with Polk and Baker. But, I mean, Tyquan Thornton could make the roster. He could be cut. KJ Osborne could make the roster. He could be cut. Same thing with Juju. I mean, I think Juju Smith-Schuster hasn't shown anything over the last season to say, yeah, he should be in this room. He's going to be a big factor. You could question his health from last year. He says he was at 60%. Now he's at 100%. I don't really believe that, frankly. I mean, not that I think he was fully healthy last year, but I think last year of Smith-Schuster, what we got is pretty much what you're going to get with him. And Belichick thought he could replace Jacoby Myers' production with him. But obviously that wasn't the case, as Jacoby Myers scored a touchdown seemingly every week for the Raiders last year. Probably the most frustrating thing of the entire season. But, yeah, I can see KJ Osborne breaking out, I guess, and the Patriots don't need more than 500 yards out of him. You'd hope that Jalen Polk is going to kind of take over as that guy. Their team's still short a wide receiver one. I don't think anyone's questioning that, but they have a lot of guys who I think can be great complementary pieces. I'm thinking KJ can maybe be one of them.
Yeah, I love the addition of KJ Osborne. And look, not just because of what he can do on the field, because I don't think he's necessarily got the opportunity to shine. When you play behind Justin Jefferson, it's difficult to secure the spotlight from a player that talented and that capable of taking over a game. But Osborne is someone that can win his battles. We've heard this from his teammates, from his coaches, and we've heard this from now his Patriots teammates that are getting a chance to see what he can do on the field. I also love the maturity and the leadership abilities he brings. This is a guy that leads by example, and he inspires people. Off the field, one of the great guys that you'll meet anywhere in the NFL landscape. And that's something that I think is so important for the Patriots this year, Mike. What they've wanted to do is build a culture of strong character players that they feel can be rocks that they can build on with this team and help build a foundation here, not just from the prowess that they're going to show on the field, but most importantly, the prowess that they show behind the scenes. And KJ Osborne is someone I believe that can thrive here in New England under Gerard Mayo, under Alex Van Pelt, and really show what he can do. So this is one that I will absolutely be keeping my eye on as well. When I looked at the Patriots breakout candidates, yeah, Mike, I'm going to steal your thunder a little bit, folks. Mike wrote a phenomenal piece about this young man that I'm about to speak of on Patriots Country. Folks, I encourage you to go check it out. This was my favorite draft pick from a couple of years ago, and that is Marcus Jones. Obviously, Marcus coming back from a shoulder labrum injury, but Marcus believes that he is completely healthy, completely putting it behind him. And according to the piece that you wrote earlier this week, Mike, he's not really going to let people forget who his name is. He thinks that a lot of people are sleeping on his talent, but they shouldn't be. And I agree. The Patriots should not be sleeping on this kid, not just as a punt returner, which he was an all-pro punt returner a couple of years ago. Obviously, he's catching the right eyes when it comes to the NFL hierarchy. You don't win that award just because they, like a highlight. You win that award for being a solid player from start to finish, and that's what he was in his rookie season. I think people forget the triple threat ability that this kid has. In 2022, he became the first NFL player since Deion Sanders. That's pretty good company to be in. The first NFL player since Deion to score a touchdown on defense, on offense, and on special teams. Specifically, the first guy in 75 years to have a receiving touchdown, a punt return touchdown, and an interception return for a touchdown in the same season. That's not happenstance. That's by design. That's talent. And I think Marcus is going to show that talent this year. We all marvel at his speed. I think you may see him emerge as the primary slot option by season's end. And I'm saying that with as much love and admiration for Jonathan Jones as you could possibly have for an NFL player. I think Jonathan's place on this roster is secured. But I think by season's end, you're going to be seeing that the Patriots saw a lot in Marcus to be able to be their slot corner of the future. I think this is the year he breaks out and shows that ability.
Yeah, Jonathan Jones was really good when they moved him to the outside in the first couple games 2 years ago. And that, Marcus Jones getting hurt last year in week 2, I think it was, against Miami. It was kind of like the beginning of not that team ever stood a chance last year. The roster was terrible and they were always going to be terrible. But, obviously you had some bad luck on defense injury-wise, Marcus Jones and Gonzalez and Judon. But Jones, when he went down in week 2, and it didn't sound good immediately because I think they ruled him out right away. It was almost like the beginning of the end. It was like, all right, this team has very few flashy, fun players. Like Gonzalez is an exciting rookie, but very, very little excitement on this roster. And, there goes Marcus Jones in week 2. So, yeah, I think he's a guy that a lot of people were really excited about going into last year, seeing what he can do. And then, of course, suffers an injury that seems, he's come back from fine. It was a shoulder issue. And hopefully, he can in what is a year 2 redo, I guess, for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And honestly, he was a pick of mine last year to be a breakout candidate after a strong rookie season and really show what he can do in the defensive backfield as well as in the return game and special teams. So drop us a note in the comments section below on YouTube or reach out to either one of us on Twitter. If you're listening to this podcast, let us know who your breakout candidate is for the New England Patriots in 2024. A lot of opportunities to make names for themselves. Maybe they'll make some waves in the standings. We're going to talk about that in just a moment. So don't go anywhere, folks. You're going to want to stay locked into this episode of Locked On Patriots to absorb Michael's great wisdom and counsel. But we wouldn't be doing our job, Mike, as reporters and those that cover this team to talk about the potential concerns on this roster right now. What's the biggest concern for your New England Patriots heading into 2024? Michael Brauner and I are going to discuss that point and more when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast continues, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On listeners, passion, drive, and patience is what brings home that winning trophy. You know what? It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. Our good friends over at eBay Motors have everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers to roof racks to exhaust kits, LED headlights, and so much more, whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has got you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber and not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to turn your car into the MVP and bring home that win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back, Patriots fans, to this weekend episode of Locked On Patriots, taking you into your holiday weekend with my good friend and colleague over at Patriots Country of Athlon Sports, Michael Brauner. And as you look at this roster from top to bottom, there are a lot of concerns. Obviously, one of the biggest would be the quarterback position. Did the Patriots do enough to surround Drake May with talent so that way he can be productive in his first year? Or are the Patriots looking at a developmental project in Drake, and they're going to have to start the veteran Jacoby Brissett and maybe play the veterans a little bit more than they wanted to? Does Bailey Zappi hang around on this roster because of that, or do they go with the talented arm of Joe Milton? Are the Patriots enough on the offensive line? Did they do enough to protect whatever quarterback is going to be taking snaps there? On the defensive side of the ball, did they do enough to maintain a unit that was ranked pretty high among a lot of NFL pundits last season for their performance? Mike, when you take a look at this roster from top to bottom, you take a look at the Patriots' strengths and weaknesses, what is still the item on that list that keeps you up at night as a Patriots fan? What's your biggest concern?
Now, obviously, the roster is deficient in a lot of areas. You know, there's no hiding that fact. You can talk about the wide receiver group. You can talk about the offensive line, which, frankly, the entire left side of it is a big question mark for me. Roster-wise, I think you're really looking solid in the secondary, especially with the guys you have coming back from injury. But if there's like a biggest concern for me this season headed into the first year of the Gerard Mayo era, and I've kind of gotten on board with Mayo. I didn't love it at first. I guess I didn't love the fact that I felt there were quality candidates out there, like a Mike Vrabel, for example. And I just didn't love the whole succession plan thing that we're getting rid of Belichick, but we're getting rid of him to, bring in the guy that he's hand trained. I know they're not the same guy, but everything Mayo knows about coaching obviously came from Bill Belichick. So I'm on board with it because I think the players are on board with it. I just didn't love how that was handled. I guess my biggest concern, the defense was phenomenal last year. How does that defense performance translate from the Bill Belichick era to the Gerard Mayo era? And I'm a believer that Mayo is going to be able to get it right, but how many growing pains will there be, with a new head coach? And, Bill Belichick, fault him all you will. Certainly as a general manager, you have to fault him, and he's pretty single-handedly responsible for the roster getting to the state it was. But that team never quit last year. There were very few games early in the season. Sure, the Saints game, the Cowboys game, there were a couple of games they got blasted in, but down the stretch, I mean, they were pretty relatively competitive in most games, and largely due to the fact that, I mean, the 3-game stretch last season, the 3-game stretch of offense that set football back, 50 years, but against the Colts, Chargers, and Giants. I can't remember exactly what the order was, but the defense gave up 26 points and 2 touchdowns in total across 3 games. Granted, they scored a total of they got shut out twice and then 10, I think, against the Colts in Germany. So, the offense, obviously, and that blame squarely fell on Belichick. I think Mac Jones didn't really have it. People want to say, like, was Mac Jones failed, or did he just never have it? I think it's both, frankly. I don't think he was ever going to be an elite quarterback. I think you saw a ceiling rookie year, but obviously what Belichick surrounded him with was the reason for the bottoming out of offense. And of course he gets benched eventually, and rightfully so. Zappe delivered some kind of spark, but 26 points and 2 touchdowns across 3 games that the defense gave up. The 6-0 game to the Chargers. I mean, again, I'm not apologizing for Belichick because he's the reason why the offense was as poor as it was, but how does the defense look in a year where teams going to struggle on offense again? I hope they're going to be better with Alex Van Pelt, and we'll see who's playing quarterback and some improvements away. I hope they'll be better. But, the offense is obviously going to struggle. My concern is, can the defense still keep them in games? They get Christian Gonzalez back. They get Matthew Judon back. They get Marcus Jones back. Can the defense continue to keep them in games and let the offense go through the growing pains it's going to go through? Like, what does the transition to a Gerard Mayo called defense versus a Bill Belichick called defense look like?
That's a great point. And I think probably a point that not a lot of people are making, because they're looking at this roster and they're saying, okay, well, Patriots are stacked on defense. They had a good defense last year. They're getting Judon back. Barmore is going to be back and better than ever. Marcus Jones is coming back. Christian Gonzalez is coming back. All of the things that you mentioned. And all of a sudden, Patriots fans are thinking, well, we're set on that side of the ball. All the concern needs to go over to the offense. But it's not enough in the NFL to go out and to do what you did last year. You've got to come back and you've got to equal that or make it better. And the Patriots defense does face a transitional year this year. For all of the continuity that they try to maintain with having a defensive-minded head coach like Gerard Mayo, someone who has played on that defense, played under Bill Belichick, knows his tendencies, knows how to coach this team on defense, and also adding in someone like DeMarcus Covington, who has been there for a number of years and is going to be the defensive coordinator now. That's a good amount of continuity. But just because you did it last year doesn't mean you're going to go out there and do it again. It's a new voice in that head coach's room. And we heard Keon White talk about that earlier this week. Yeah, we don't have Belichick jawing in our ear anymore and telling us about what we need to do right. I think a lot of media pundits may have taken that the wrong way, because Keon followed that up immediately with, I miss that. I miss Bill Belichick being on us all the time. I think in some ways it's going to be a difference in voice and a difference in style. And because of that, that's where I think the Patriots are going to really watch what they need to do when it comes to their technique and their abilities on the field. So I love that suggestion, and I think it's something that the Patriots fans should have a concern over, because it is a departure from the way they've done business for so long up here under Bill Belichick. In my opinion, when I look at this team's deficiencies, to me, it still begins and ends with the offensive line, especially at left tackle. Now, I know a lot of people are worried about Cole Strange right now. I had Dr. Kyle Trimble, who's an AFC East injury expert, and we talked a little bit about Cole potentially being out beyond midseason, and that does create a void on the offensive line. I think the Patriots are well equipped to handle that with the drafting of Layden Robinson and maybe a shifting of Sidy Sow over to the left. I would go with Layden at the left and keep Sidy on the right because he had such a good year last year, but the Patriots are worried about that left side. It may make more sense to have a little more experience rather than someone like Layden, who is a rookie and still going to have rookie growing pains. I get that. And I think the Patriots have equipped themselves well to have guys that can fill in. Even someone like an Antonio Mafi can play minutes at those positions to help you. But on the left side, especially at the tackle position, you're dealing with a battle between two guys that haven't played a whole lot of left tackle in their careers. Caden Wallace as a rookie out of Penn State, and Chuck Okorafor as a veteran coming over from the Steelers. Chuck's has got more experience playing on the left side than Caden does. But at the same time, you're still dealing with train yourself to do something differently than you're used to doing it. And my good friend Thomas Murphy joined me earlier here on the pod this week and talked about trying to force yourself to do something with your left hand or your right hand, depending on which hand you're dominant with, that you don't normally do. If you're a lefty, try eating with your right. If you're a right, try swinging a bat with your left or things of that nature. If you're not used to doing it, it can be difficult. And that's something where you need either a veteran presence or a highly dedicated, highly motivated rookie to put the time in to be able to utilize that on the left side as opposed to the right. I think the Patriots saw something in Caden Wallace, and I think that's why they're looking at him as someone that can make that switch. Scott Peters has an eye for linemen that can be versatile and play on both sides. He obviously saw something in Caden, and they're going to continue to work with him on that. Chuck Okorafor is someone that has the dedication and the discipline. He can do it, but it really forces you this year to maybe take a step back in that regard, whereas Pats fans, I think, were hoping for more on the offensive line. I think it's unfair to say that the Patriots weren't aggressive enough in free agency to go get a solid veteran-level left tackle. I know Tyron Smith was out there available, but there wasn't much in the free agent market that the Patriots could throw a lot of money at for a player that could come in and revolutionize the way this team operates on the left side. I think where they may have missed their opportunity is the draft, because obviously this was a draft class that was very deep in tackle talent, especially on the left side. Did they leave someone on the board? Only time will tell when it comes to that. But what the Patriots, I think, need to do is utilize this opportunity to incorporate Alex Van Pelt's and Scott Peters' new offense, very heavy in outside zone. If there is something Patriots fans can take solace in, it's the fact that outside zone doesn't force you to block on an island if you're a left tackle or a right tackle. It does incorporate a little bit more of a team effort in order to be able to make the blocks or open the holes that you need to facilitate the running game. So maybe they try to go with a combination of Wallace and with Okorafor and see what's there. If one of those guys jumps out and they end up solving your problem, beautiful, you've got the problem solved. If you don't, you can always regroup, take a look at what's available next season, and then you can go after maybe your left tackle of the future, Will Campbell, Kelvin Banks, just a couple of names that come to mind of guys that the Patriots may be watching. But to me, I think that's the biggest concern, because you have a valuable veteran and you have a highly valuable rookie that you need to protect this year. If you don't have that protection, things can get ugly in a hurry. You don't just worry about their development, you also worry about their health. That's the biggest concern to me if I'm a Patriots fan.
I struggled between the Mayo defense and the left side of the offensive line, so I'm glad you brought it up that I didn't. I think Okafor is ultimately a Band-Aid, and I didn't love the Caden Wallace pick, frankly. Like you said, there was a tackle-heavy draft, and it felt like they took a developmental guy, which, frankly, they need a guy who can come in and play now. Well, but I don't claim to be a scout. Who knows if they left a guy on the board or, could have traded up for a guy. I'm pretty happy with how things went in the first two rounds with May and Jalen Polk. People were talking about, do they trade down or do they trade down or just draft Joe Alt at 3? So, which you could have done, and then you probably have an all-franchise left tackle. In hindsight, I don't know a single Patriot fan who wanted them to do that, but yeah, that would have solved the problem. That would have had me ready to jump. But I mean, I wouldn't have been thrilled if they drafted Joe Alt at number 3. But I get the logic in it. I'd rather have Drake May and let them figure it out from there. But as we've seen, it's hard to find a quality left tackle.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. Look, I know our good friend Murph was, he was shouting from the rooftops that he wanted Alt to be the Patriots pick, advocating them trading down and getting your building block along the offensive line to build upon for many years to come. But if there's one thing that history has taught us, it's that quarterbacks with the talent level and the ability to be a top level quarterback in the NFL don't come along all that often. I think the Patriots identified that in Drake May. And because of that, he's a New England Patriot now, and he's your guy for the future. Now, next year, if it doesn't work out, you can pivot and again go to guys like a Will Campbell or a Kelvin Banks. So I think the Patriots identified that need and said, well, I think we can utilize the draft or utilize free agency or try to find a solution to the left tackle position a lot easier than we can if we passed up Drake May. And now we've got a huge hole at the quarterback position. And another couple of years, you're going to be watching Drake launch passes to wide receivers for another team and saying he was there for the taking. We could have had him. That's a very difficult thing for a team to walk away from. And I think they made the right move here as well. So bottom line, folks, what is your biggest concern for your New England Patriots heading into 2024? Drop us a note in the comments section below or reach out to Mike or myself on Twitter and let us know what you're thinking. Mike, we're not done yet because there is one more burning question on the minds of all Patriots fans heading into their holiday weekend as they prepare to watch this team take the field for mandatory minicamp. 4-13 is not an area Patriots fans want to see again. Did the Patriots do enough this offseason to even better that mark by one win? Some pundits say yes, some pundits say no. Mike and I are going to reveal our thoughts on the subject when this episode of the Locked On Patriots podcast wraps up right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Locked On listeners, I'm really excited today to tell you about our sponsor, Yahoo Finance. Because when it came to my financial future, I thought I had done it all. I saved, I researched, I invested all that I could, but I still had a lot of questions, and I wasn't sure of that next step. With Yahoo Finance, I took my investments to the next level. I wasn't a seasoned investor, but Yahoo Finance gave me all the tools and data I needed all in one place. And most importantly, they gave me the extra guidance I needed most. Because with a community of over 90 million users each month, their real strength is helping you on your way to financial freedom. For comprehensive financial news and analysis, visit the brand behind every great investor, yahoofinance.com, the #1 financial destination, yahoofinance.com. That's yahoofinance.com. Patriots fans, thank you once again for joining us here today on Locked On Patriots. Joining me is my colleague at Patriots Country of Athlon Sports, Michael Brauner. You can also catch him each and every morning on WNSP 105.5 in Mobile, Alabama. Mike, we've talked a lot about the Patriots and who may break out this year, who may be a celebrated New England Patriot by year's end that maybe isn't getting so much press right now. We've also talked about the biggest concerns on this roster and why they may be a hindrance in the Patriots' ability to make an improvement on a 4-13 season last year. That really, I think, is the biggest question on everyone's mind right now. We can always dance around the quarterback issue or the left tackle issue or the defense issue. Anything that would take away from the true question that should be on the minds of Patriots fans is this team any better than the unit that finished 4-13 last year? Mike, I put the question to you. Do you believe this roster as constructed and the type of strategy that you hear the Patriots want to employ this year, do you believe right now that this is better than a 4-13 team?
You know, when I first asked myself the question, I said, obviously, of course, they're going to win more than 4 games. The quarterback position is better. The wide receiver position is better. How could they not? And then I started looking at the schedule again. I was like, wait a minute, maybe they're really not better than 4-13. I mean, Vegas has the line set at 4.5, which I think is right about spot on. I think it's going to be between 4 and 6 wins. Question, obviously, like you would want. The CJ Stroud situation at Houston is the very much the exception, not the rule. So obviously, like I'm not even gonna get my hopes up there that Drake May could have a miracle season and the team's gonna win 10 games. It's not gonna happen. The team's just not good enough. And they have a rookie head coach who could end up being great, but I guess the Texans also had a rookie head coach last year in D'Amico Ryans. But it's a pipe dream to think that's even the ceiling. I think the ceiling is probably around 6 or 7 wins. And you got to ask yourself, like, do you want the team to even, like, yeah, it'd be nice to show signs of improvement, but if they win 3 or 4 games again, well, you're picking in the top 3 again. You got a chance to look at Kelvin Banks, or whether it be a top receiver that breaks out. I haven't done a ton of research on next year's draft class. I'm just glad the Patriots got the quarterback now, because I know what next year's quarterback class looks like. But I mean, when you look at the schedule, Cincinnati week 1, that's almost certainly going to be a loss, although wacky things happen in week 1. The Bengals have struggled in week 1 historically, so, you never know, I guess. But if you don't get that win against Seattle at home week 2, you're probably not going to beat the Jets, assuming Aaron Rodgers is healthy. You're not going to beat San Francisco. Then you got Miami, Houston, Jacksonville, and London, the Jets. I mean, none of these are ridiculously hard games besides San Francisco on the road, but I just don't look at any of these games like, yeah, like that's a win for the Patriots. It's just not there. That's the status of the team right now. So do I think they're going to win more than 4 games? Maybe, but it's not going to be more than 5. It's almost certainly not going to be more than 6 again, which is fine. Like it's year 1 of a hard reset rebuild. Like, is the team? My hope for the team is that they are less painful to watch. We can actually have some fun watching the team again. Hopefully Drake May gets in there, and hopefully guys who are new additions, especially the rookies, show a little promise. And if that happens and the team wins 5 games, if the team wins 3 games, I'm going to be doing just fine.
Yeah, I think Patriots fans will be doing just fine. If this team wins 5 or 6 at this point, it will allow Pats fans to believe that things are getting better, things are progressing in the right direction, and I think you'll see an awful lot of optimism. And again, winning that low amount gives you the opportunity to be picking in the top half of the draft once again, and you get that type of potentially generational talent that you want to cultivate this team for many years to come. The other thing that leads me to believe that this is a team that can grab at least one more win than they had last year is the defense that you talked about in the previous segment. The Patriots were 9th in defensive DVOA last year, 4th in EPA per play, and 7th in success rate. And you're talking about a team that was absolutely stout against the run in 2020 and 2023. You have to think they're going to continue that in 2024 with guys like Christian Barmore, Keon White, making that next level jump to be not only sound run defenders, but also getting after the passer as well. So if the Pats defense can carry them to at least one more win, I think it's a win-win situation for the Patriots. Still picking in the first half of the draft, but also building upon something and knowing that you were at least one win better from the year before. I think Patriots fans will be very satisfied with that outcome.
No doubt about it. I mean, again, it's about looking better than you did last year, looking not completely hopeless on offense. That's my big hope for this team. How many games they win? They're not a playoff team, so it's you can make the argument you would want them to finish with a 4-win record again.
Right.
Someone who just actively roots against the team and won't be mad if they're winning games late in the season. But well, maybe depending on what the record is, if they win a pointless game in week 16, it can be a little bit frustrating. But they still ended up with Drake May, who I wanted from the beginning. So as long as the team is showing progress, the record is less the concern for me than what that record looks like.
Absolutely. That is so well said, folks. It's about the progress on the field, and it's about positioning yourself for success in the future. Don't get hung up on the win-losses. Don't get hung up on the final record. Patriots have a very tough schedule and a gauntlet to go through at points this year. If they don't pile up the wins, that's not necessarily a terrible thing. It really is about the progress we're seeing on the offense, most importantly, and can they maintain and even build upon that stout defense that they had just 1 year ago. Michael, excellent analysis, always spot on. And again, folks, this is the type of analysis you can expect to see on Athlon Sports Patriots Country each and every day from Michael Brauner. And you're going to be seeing him again as a regular here on Locked On Patriots as we progress through the season and we continue to break down the Patriots campaign in 2024 under first-year head coach Gerard Mayo. But in the meantime, Mike, thank you so much for taking the time out of your schedule today to join me here on Locked On Patriots. Before I let you go, please let everyone of our listeners know where they can reach out to you, interact with you, and anything else you'd be keeping our sharp eye on from the great pen and the great voice of Michael Brauner.
Yeah, appreciate that, Mike. I really enjoyed this. Thanks for having me on. Most of my interaction in terms of media-wise is on Twitter, so give me a follow at mbrauner WNSP. That's BRAUNER, and then WNSP. That's my station. I'm down here in Mobile, and I went to Alabama, and I'm a huge college football fan, but I'm from New Jersey, and the NFL is the first love always for me. So give me a follow on Twitter at mbrauner WNSP. I'm usually tweeting some nonsense about the Patriots.
Absolutely. And definitely be sure to follow him, folks. And of course, be sure to follow all of the work that Mike is doing, and always yours truly as well over at Patriots Country. And definitely check us out here on the Locked On Patriots podcast regularly. You will not want to miss a single second of the action. In the meantime, folks, get your questions in over the weekend, because our good buddy Thomas Murphy is back on Monday. We're going to be breaking down all of your great questions. It's a Memorial Day Mailbag Monday episode of Locked On Patriots, so be sure to submit those questions. You can submit them by Twitter at MDABATENFL. Tag Murph in those questions at DMurph207, or you can send them in by email. And you guys have been doing a great job flooding the email box, lockedonpatriots@gmail.com. But in the meantime, I want to thank my good friend Michael Brauner for his wisdom, his counsel, and his appearance on today's pod. But most of all, I want to thank each and every one of you for continuing to make Locked On Patriots a daily part of your New England Patriots coverage. Folks, enjoy your weekend. We will see you back here again on Monday. Always be sure to stay safe and to stay well, and to be the change you wish to see in the world. I'm Mike Debate, wishing you all the very best, and we'll see you back here again on Monday on Locked On Patriots.